bring to order the joint meeting of the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Redevelopment Agency for Tuesday, May 23rd. We did have a closed session, and we do have nothing to report out of closed session at this time. So with that, may we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Skillman?
Here.
Councilmember Delasso?
Here.
Mayor Harvey?
Here.
Vice Mayor Landman, I'll show as absent. And Councilmember Moore?
Here.
Okay. Will all you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? So we will move on to the approval of the minutes and the notice of waiving of reading of all the resolutions and ordinances introduced and or adopted under this agenda.
Move to approve the regular meeting from May 9 as well as the special meeting of May 16.
I'd second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Let that show a 4-1 with one absent. And then we move on to announcements. So the City of Cotati has special open office hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of its Cotati Open for Business program. This program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business within the city. The Rohnert Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, call the library at 584-9121 or visit www.sonomalibrary.org. Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 7, Saturdays from 1 to 4, and by appointment. For more information, call 707-794-0305. Citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to sign up at nixle, nixle.com. The city offers a variety of recreation programs for all ages. See details on the web at cotati-city.org. Coffee with a Cop. Our next Coffee with a Cop event will be on Wednesday, May 24th from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. at your Sweet Expectations, 8099 La Plaza in Cotati. Come have a cup of coffee and casual conversations with our Cotati police officers. In honor of National Public Works Week, the city is hosting an open house on May 25th, 2017 from 2:30 to 4:30. Come down to our corporation yard at 1 Tribunal Court to check out our equipment, meet our public works staff, and learn about the services we offer. There will be a study session on the enterprise and other funds on 5/30/2017, beginning at 6:30 in the City Council chambers. And last, tomorrow, please join me on Wednesday, 5/24/2017, from 5:30 to 7:30 in the Cotati room to share ideas on how to improve the health status of Cotati and learn about the new Cotati Rohnert Park Health Action Chapter. So that is all the announcements I have tonight. And do we have any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Okay. Then we will move on to citizens' business and public comment for consent calendar items. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matter not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any member of the public, on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2016-1, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where a disability accommodation has been requested. And with that, I do have a speaker card. Chris Inman. Come on up, Chris.
It's been a while since I've been before the council. Anyway, thank you for your service, all of you. I know it's a lot of work. My wife and I own Rainbow Bridge Montessori School on William Street. I've submitted a letter that I've composed and a couple of my neighbors concerning the shortcut issue on William Street. I have timed cars. I timed myself between two telephone posts. 6 seconds is 25 miles an hour. I have clocked people going through at 3 seconds, 50 miles an hour, 3.5, and 4 seconds. So I've talked to our police department, and it's really hard for them to hide and deal with that. We've had the electronic device out there. It ran out of juice. Too much fog. Anyway, in particular, I've actually signaled people, slow down, and gotten various signals, hand signals. And I believe that our front yard was vandalized by a couple of monster trucks driving into the landscaping. A week and a half ago, not all of our parents go into our curved driveways, and there was one who tends to park out of the street. She had her door open to the street, to the center of the street, and this big white truck, I mean, it was this close, and he was doing 45. I clocked him. And it's been a continuing problem, but I think it's escalated because of our traffic has really increased. And our school signs are up too high. There's no speed limit sign on William Street, which a high patrolman pointed out to me and said there really should be posted, although our streets are 25. It's residential, it's mixed use. So as much as I dislike speed bumps, I have talked to Al in Public Works, and he's going to talk to engineering, I guess. I don't know whether solutions could be put in, maybe a flashing yellow light, but I've got preschoolers and parents walking across the street, and I don't want a tragedy to happen. I did have, in the late 80s, I had one of our employees get hit, and an 83 construction contractor, his dog got hit in front of the school when he was working on our school. Should have been on a leash, but anyway, I don't want to take up any more time. It's almost up. Anyway, I think this is an important issue to be solved. One other issue is the street is now cobblestone, and it's from giant trucks cutting through. 18-wheelers, dual with trailer, and the road's just not handling it too well. So anyway, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, George.
Good evening, Council. For the benefit of the audience, my name is George Barrich. I'm a former city councilman here in Cotati, and as some of you may have noticed, there was about a dozen people that came in and sat in the back of the room here before the meeting, and then Mr. Moore walked up and said something, and they all left. So the appearance of some impropriety is pretty obvious to me. So, Mr. Moore, I'd like maybe if you can explain to the council what you may have said. Maybe you told them that they didn't need to stay, that the vote was in the can for whatever's on the consent item for them, and they don't need to stay. But it just didn't look right. So I know you have a logical explanation, so if you can share that with us. Then also at the last council meeting, Mr. Moore had admitted that, or claimed he was a registered Democrat. Now, Mr. Moore, you don't fool me. You may be registered a Democrat, but we have a saying for people like you, and that's you're a dino, a Democrat in name only. Okay? You are as far left of a ideologue as they come. All right? A few years ago, you promised to run me out of town because of my politics, my outspokenness. And I know a lot of Democrats, a lot of responsible Democrats, and no real Democrat wants to run anyone out of town. But communists and fascists surely do. Now, I don't want to run anybody out of town, surely not the Moors. You know, I love this republic. I love this town. Everybody should have their right to say what they want to say, and express themselves. But that may be at least one difference between you and I, Mr. Moore. And there are many others. Now, at the last city council meeting, there was some mention that the meeting was going on too long. We had been here for 3 hours. We had asked for an adjournment for a time and place certain in the future. And Mr. Moore said something to the fact, well, George, why don't you make up your mind? You complained that the meetings are too short. Now you're complaining the meetings are too long. And you're not listening, Mr. Moore. That was never the idea that the meetings were too short. Oftentimes, like tonight, we have very few items on the agenda. We'll probably get out of here about 7:45 tonight, 7:50, something like that. And my point is, on nights like that, there's a night to add some items to the agenda that you people have been talking about for a long time, but don't have the political courage to put them on the agenda. The other issue is, why would you relegate people and citizens to speak only 3 minutes when you're going to be home by 8 o'clock? The other issue is, once you go past 3 hours, it's unfair to the public to keep the meetings going into the wee hours of the night, and that you can adjourn the meeting to the next week. You can add some of these issues back onto the next agenda.
George, are you almost done?
Yes, yeah, I'm almost done.
Thank you.
That'll do it tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wishing to speak on citizens' business or the items on the consent calendar? Yes, no, maybe? I think you guys have questions when she gets up. Okay, all right. Then I will close public comment on that. Any direction on future agenda items?
Can I have a question,
all right,
please?
okay.
A question for staff on Mr. Inman, who unfortunately left. I really wanted to ask him. I guess the visual I have is that people are heading, William is weird. It should be east-west, but I think it's actually oriented more north-south. But were they traveling away from the La Plaza area? Or are they traveling to it? I don't know if
It's
you
both. It's both.
directions.
I've been through there quite a lot, and because the school is on both sides and people are dropping off kids, people, just in general don't necessarily stop. I always stop. I'm always watching for kids. I know there's a school
Totally
there.
understand that.
That's why I asked when we, did this
Speed
speed
out here.
stuff out
Right.
here to make sure that there was
And I
proper
totally understand
signage.
that concept. I guess I was just trying to figure out, because he stated in his letter that they're trying to avoid the downtown stoplight. And I'm just kind of curious if he sees the route that people are taking. Because, there's so many different side roads you could take, and that may be getting into the weeds right now, but I just didn't know if he's expressed that to either our city manager or to our chief.
I don't believe he's actually expressed the ultimate route of them, but I would speculate that they would typically go onto West Cotati and then onto La Plaza and then out to West Sierra to go whichever way they're heading.
Right, okay. All right, thanks.
So would you mind please meeting with Mr. Inman and seeing, I know there's a process that we need to go through. I noticed, and it could have changed, but I did notice that when I went by there the last time, that even the sign that's there, some of the palm branches are kind of over it, and that's probably a maintenance issue with the church there. But if you could please work with him and
We'll reach out
let
to him.
us know.
I would also add, should staffing allow, having, a motorcycle officer there during the certain times, because I'm sure he could tell us what the appropriate times are. It's amazing how educational a ticket could be for people who are going too fast. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
There's probably an opportunity to park there in that parking lot behind Papa Murphy's, kind of in that little back parking lot. But I agree that it's kind of not one of those areas that is easily seen. Okay. Any other comments on that? No? Okay, all right, sorry. Direction on future agenda items?
None this week, thanks.
None?
Not today.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's all right. Now we will move on to the consent calendar. We have items 9A and 9B.
If we may, I might clarify it for the benefit of the audience, the people in Cotati and Roanoke Park. Fire Trucks was here because they were under the impression that there was a celebration of their 25th anniversary, but that had not been scheduled yet. So there was a breakdown in communication. So I told them that that was not on the agenda tonight. And I gave them the option if they would like to stay or not stay. So there's the clarification on that. And for the record, I'm not a fascist or a communist. I'm a registered Democrat. Thank you very much.
And to add to that, I've spoken with staff, and staff will be reaching out to them to get that appropriately scheduled and notification so that there's not a lack of communication.
Well, after graduation weekend, I think they were thrilled it wasn't tonight.
Yeah. So, consent calendar.
I'll move to approve items A and B.
And second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Let that show a 4-1. Then we will move on to public hearings, and we have introduction of an ordinance amending sections of the Chapter 9.38 of Title 9 of the Cotati Municipal Code to clarify the city's authority to recover administrative costs incurred in connection with enforcement activities pursuant to such chapter. So, do we have a staff report?
Yes. So, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you know, we have the so-called party ordinance that was adopted several years ago. And as it's been operational, one of the things that has come up as as an issue that required some revision to the ordinance is when people appeal the notification that they've violated the party ordinance. There's no way for the city to recover costs on the appeal hearing. So that requires us to get an administrative law judge or hearing officer. And of course, if they win the appeal, then that's a different situation where they get their fines and costs back. But if they don't win the appeal, then this is written, the amendment here is written so that the city can recover those costs. So that, therefore, we don't get, if we get claims that it was like improperly enforced by the city, that we can. Sorry, I'm going in circles on this one, but basically, if they don't win the appeal, then the city keeps the costs of the appeal hearing officer, so we're not out of pocket for it in the general fund. But if the city doesn't win the appeal from this neutral third party that hears the appeal, then they would get their costs back. So that's in effect what this does. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Well, in essence, there's no incentive there for them not to appeal. Right. So if there's a concern that the cost may be involved in that appeal, if it's not a strong enough appeal, then they might just appeal anyway.
Well, if they appeal anyway and they're not successful in their appeal, then they're liable for the cost. Right now, it wasn't clear that was the case, so we're just trying to make this a little bit more clear. And that is the custom and practice throughout the state when you do these administrative hearings, as you probably know.
Other questions? Yeah. Open this up to public comment. Yes, George?
Well, members of the public knew that this was not clear when the ordinance came up a few years ago. We argued just this point, but again, it seems like there's never time to do it right the first time, but there's always time to do it over again. And we brought this point up. It was clear. There was 2 or 3 of us who brought this up, and it just went right over your heads. The other issue here is that now how is it that the city can get their administrative costs recovered if they win, but the appealing party who brings an attorney to argue the case for them and they win, they don't get reimbursed their fees and costs. How is that fair? Oftentimes people have to hire attorneys to come in and stand up to the state and these overreaching ordinances and bad policing and so forth. And then when they win, they're out all their legal costs. So it's a lose-lose. I think what you need to do with put the amendment is that the legal costs and administrative costs are recoverable by either party, by the winning party. That's fair.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment and bring it back to the council. Oh, okay. I thought maybe you might have had something to add.
Well, then I move to introduce an ordinance to amend sections of Chapter 9.38 of Title 9 of the Cotati Municipal Code and to clarify the city's authority to recover administrative costs incurred in connection with enforcement activities pursuant to such chapter.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we will move on to the regular agenda. We have item 11A, opposition to AB 1250, counties and cities contracts for personal services. We have a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. So AB 1250 is a proposed bill in the state legislature that that basically tries, the overall intent of it is to put a lot of administrative requirements in front of being able to contract out for any type of services. And as you know, the city routinely uses contract services for things like landscape maintenance or city attorney or numerous other engineering and specialty type services. And it puts a high hurdle in front of cities to basically prove that that you need to contract out, and the underlying intent is to try to, I guess, hire more municipal staff to fill those roles rather than contracting it out, which generally doesn't make a lot of sense because a lot of times these are specialty areas that are hired in, or they're episodic type work where it's not something you'd really want to hire up for because it's not a year-round workload issue. And this bill was opposed by the League of California Cities, as well as, I believe the Mayors and Council Members Association also opposed it, and numerous other bodies across the state. So I think a lot of the cities, aside from like a city like ours, which is smaller, it puts a lot of cumbersome administrative processes on the front end to try to prove with each contract that you enter into that you really need to enter into that contract, which would slow things to a grinding halt and add to make us just hire people to deal with the administrative workload on it, which wouldn't be my ideal way to add staff. But also, it's also opposed by a lot of cities statewide because they're afraid, especially with some of the statewide issues going on with PERS right now, that it'll it would force them to increase their staffing to the point that their cities would basically collapse under the payroll costs. So that's why it's statewide. It's been pretty uniformly opposed. And so this item tonight would be just a letter of opposition using a fairly form letter from the league to oppose it on behalf of the city. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
I did have some questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I have a question. To me, it just, it's really not financially prudent to hire more staff right off the top because you've got so many additional costs from, benefits and so on. And time is also, I think, important. Oftentimes, you're contracting out. It may be specialized. I think with planning efforts, staff along with contractors can get the work done quicker than if it were just staff, even if, again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to hire more staff because you used some term that I really liked, but I didn't write it down. But if the work is not a part of the regular process, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. I can't for the life of me think of why anybody involved with any kind of municipal government would even recommend something like this. It seems really, I don't know, it makes no sense from a financial standpoint nor from a time standpoint. Oftentimes, again, you're taking staff time away to do a project, which makes perfect sense, but that's valuable time, especially in a small city where you don't have a lot of FTE. So yeah, I think this is kind of a silly recommendation, the proposal that we are potentially opposing. Just want to say that. Thanks.
John?
Conceptually, I disagree with you on that whole concept. And when you start going down the road of contracting out and contracting out and contracting out, well, pretty soon the whole staff can end up at some point being a contract employee without necessarily some of the provisions and benefits of being a municipal or public servant. I don't like the language in this particular bill because I think it is a little cumbersome. But I like the concept, but I didn't care for the language. I think if something like that were to pass, I don't know that it would have a significant bearing on us because it's individual contracts over $100,000, correct? And then major contracts over $5 million. Well, we don't have a lot of major contracts over $5 million and very few over $100,000, But so in concept, I like the idea, but I think that it would have to be more well-written. So that would be my only opposition to that.
Yeah, I mean, my issues with it are a couple. One having to do with the privacy issues. Part of what this wants is it wants a database with any contract that we put out, and it wants the names and titles and salary for each person, and who the manager is of them, and how much they're paid, and how much their benefits are, and what FTE has been displaced, and that in and of itself is cumbersome, but it's also you're giving someone else's a non-employee's information out there. When we contract for services, generally speaking, it's a contract with a company, and it does not usually get into the name of the person, and certainly not how much they are specifically paid and what their benefits are, and so on and so forth. So I think a little bit of that is a little bit overreaching from a privacy concern. And then the bureaucracy of having to, every time a contract is done and every year that you have to provide every year a cost-benefit analysis that has to be approved, and you have to do a full EIR each time you do it, and an annual audit. I mean, each of those things, in and of themselves, costs money to do. And while I agree with you, it's nice to have the employees do things, and we want to do that, but we want to do that where that makes sense. So I'm not meaning to throw our city attorney under the bus, but we really, the size that we are, we really don't have the need for a full-time on-staff city attorney. We just don't have that need. So it is prudent for us to contract those services, and it helps save us. I mean, all you have to do is look at some of the budgets of some of the cities that have city attorneys' offices, and there's usually a manager and multiple staff, and that adds up pretty quickly. So I think for us, always it's a balance. What is the cost benefit? How can we manage the people? What is the best solution for us? And I think that's where I am.
I have a feeling that this was drafted with some bigger cities in mind.
Yeah, and I think it was drafted with some very specific jobs in mind, much bigger than, much bigger than kind of what we're looking at. Well, the one good thing that I saw in here that I did like, it did have in there where you could contract with another government agency to do things, which is beneficial for us because I know we do the maintenance of our vehicles through a contract with the county. So I was glad to see that they at least acknowledged, kind of that resource sharing aspect of it. But so, any other comments?
No questions, but I'll save my comments for after.
Okay, that's fine. George, would you like to speak on this? No? Then I will bring it back. Anyone else wanting to speak? Nope.
Then I'll just throw out my other comment too, is that I think I was concerned about the language as well, having to do with liability issues as far as contracting out, and then is the city liable for the contracted employees? And then lastly, I think one of the things that we do, at least I've seen over the last 4+ years, is when we do have a proposal for contracting services out, there is a cost-benefit analysis sort of built into the staff report about if we were trying to get a full-time employee to do it, this was what it would cost, and this is why it would be better to contract out. So at least as far as what I've seen, I think we're already doing the cost-benefit before we even agree to contract out any services. So
I think we're doing our version of that, not the state mandated, probably 50-page form of it,
exactly.
Okay, so with that, I would entertain a motion.
So I would move to authorize the mayor to send a letter of opposition to AB 1250 in substantially the form that is attached in our packet.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That would be a 4-1. And we will move on to the city manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. So I just thought I'd let everyone know that I just recently heard that the Exchange Bank property downtown was sold on May 19th. So that's hopeful that that building will be occupied shortly. And also, last time at the last council meeting, I talked a little bit about the SITE event, which is that combined intensive traffic enforcement event that was supposed to happen, but it got rescheduled to June 13th. So June 13th, there'll be a lot of cops everywhere. So
Is that a Friday?
I think it's Tuesday.
right, yeah, maybe William Street too.
Oh, we don't have.
On this past Thursday, which is it was the last Thursday of the SSU school year, Cotati PD hosted a DUI saturation enforcement event, and it was from 8 o'clock until 3 in the morning. We had 7 officers from outside agencies. We had Santa Rosa PD, CHP, and Sebastopol PD. And then this is sort of a similar event to SITE, where informally the agencies help each other out and donate officers for specific enforcement events. So in this DUI saturation enforcement, we had 50 traffic stops, 8 field sobriety tests. I assume that's what the FST stands for? Yeah, okay. I'm getting better with these police acronyms. We had 1 DUI alcohol arrest, 1 arrest for warrants, I guess 8 warrants totaling $250,000. So I guess 1 individual had a lot of warrants out. And then 1 arrest for driving without a license, 1 drug-related arrest, 1 agency assist with Runner Park, public safety, and a vehicle pursuit. So this was a 14-year-old who stole a vehicle at about 2 in the morning. And the 14-year-old driver was found to have 10 active warrants for, I guess, stealing vehicles. And he ultimately had a traffic collision in Runner Park, was arrested at that point. So, yeah, it's kind of an exciting night. So, like I said, this is similar to the informal arrangement that we have with the other law enforcement agencies in Sonoma County, like SITE. And this sort of replaces the Avoid the 13 program that used to be in place, but this is sort of an informal program. And I will just say, so a couple updates on some development work. On the Santero Station Apartments, we're still talking to them about the park design, and so that's getting ready, hopefully in the near future, to go to final design review, and then hopefully we'll go into construction shortly after that. We had a couple of new homes on Cervantes that recently went to Planning Commission, and we have some renewed interest in the Villages project, which is the project on 116 at Alder. So we're reviewing submittals on that project. And then for Village Walk, which is the project at East Cotati at Lancaster, I heard from their agent that they had basically, so phase 1 is what's built right now, and phase 2 is what they're starting to build, the next phase of housing. And they've only just started the foundation work on some of the units, and I've heard that they've already sold out, all if not most of them. So anyway, they're going fast. So if you want a house in Village Walk, better get in line early. And then just on some recreation news, this past weekend, Star Kids Productions performed Shrek Jr. in the Cotati Room. There was a cast of 34 kids, and over 350 audience members came over the course of 6 shows. So it was a huge success, and we look forward to our summer theater camps where children will perform Moana, Mary Poppins, and High School Musical. And then the fall show will be Peter Pan. So more to come. And then other summer camps that are open for registration right now include lacrosse camp, soccer camp, 2 multi-sport camps, a Spanish immersion camp, a gymnastics camp, 2 Lego camps, a camp Cotati, kind of a traditional day camp, and then our CIT, or Counselor and Training Program for Teens. And I think actually at our last meeting, there was a comment about how we were advertising for the CIT program, so I just thought I'd give you all an update on how that's happening. So CIT flyers are going to all the middle school and high schools, and we also have flyers available at events that our rec coordinator attends, in the office, on our website and social media, and it'll also be in our recreation guide, which is the perfect segue for our recreation guide. So we have our first activity guide, recreation guide, will be hitting mailboxes this week, with extra copies available in City Hall, the Chamber of Commerce, and other local businesses. And this guide highlights our upcoming events and activities and camps, and we have it on a biannual production schedule, so twice a year. And this is the combined Chamber recreation mailer. And so it's exciting to finally get that hard copy out in print, and we're just about ready to go live with the online version of it as well, so people can register online. So that will be up very shortly. And then some other things. You can tell that there's a lot of exciting things going on in recreation. A lot of things going on, exciting things going on in the other departments, but they don't get excited as much as Ashley does. So anyway, some of the other things that are going on. We have partnered with the Redwood Empire Food Bank to offer free lunches Monday through Friday from noon to 12:30, beginning June 5th and ending on August 4th, for all children ages 18 and under at our community center here. And you don't have to be enrolled in our summer camps to attend. There's no residency or income proof required. And if you want more information on the summer lunch program, it can be found at Redwood Empire Food Bank's website, which is refb.org. I want to say RESPCT, but anyway, refb.org is their website. And then we have some movies in the park. June 9th is our first one for the year in La Plaza Park, and that's going to be 15 minutes after sunset. We'll be showing Sing. The event is free, but we will have popcorn and beverages available for a small fee. And then June 14th, our movie will be, we're doing once a month, our movie will be Moana. And August 1st, which is our National Night Out night, it'll be the Lego Batman movie. So sign up, or you don't have to sign up for it, you just come. So come see those movies if you've missed them in the theaters. And I guess with that, I will conclude and be happy to answer any questions.
Yes.
Not a question, but the numbers we hear every other week at our council meetings from what Ashley's doing through the rec department, they're just getting bigger and bigger. And it'd be great maybe after a year to hear kind of an end-of-year wrap-up, because I'll bet there's some pretty impressive numbers of how many kids, and some of the adult classes too, that people have gone through. It's just pretty impressive. It's really great. She's doing a great job. Thanks for that.
In addition to the Redwood Empire Food Bank, are we going to be posting the summer lunch program on our kind of sites and social media?
We will be, yeah. We're just getting the word out now.
Okay.
It's like a grant program, so we were awarded the grant, and so we're moving forward with it now.
I think that's great, because oftentimes some kids don't get much to eat. So I think that that's awesome that we got that and can bring that to our community.
You know, I'll also add on that so this is the first year that we're doing it here in Cotati, and to continue it in future years, they want a certain number of participants, right, that come and take part in the program. I believe it's 20, an average of 20 children. So we have the kids in the camps that will be there, but we're also trying to get, obviously, as many people that need it as possible.
Do they announce it at the school before school lets out? I would think that would be an opportune place to kind of let folks know.
Yeah, so Ashley and I were talking about that today. I don't know if they, by default, advertise it, but so what we were talking about today was that we will make sure that they advertise, at least the Cotati site. I think there's also a site or two in Rohnert Park, but we want to get the word out before everyone leaves for the summer.
Great. Questions? Okay. No? Yeah? No?
Helps if I turn the microphone on first. It just occurred to me, too, though, you may want to reach out to the library because they'll do flyers and things for parents to pick up when they come into the children's section, and that would be good to let them know that they could come here for lunches. Thanks.
Good suggestions. Okay, so with that, we will move on to public comment on non-action agenda items. Yes, George. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, George. I skipped over council member reports. If you could wait for a minute. Okay. Thank you. Wendy?
The only thing actually I attended was the Project Grad pancake breakfast. We got there towards the end, but it was really well attended, and there was a really nice turnout, and I spoke to some of the people involved, and so it was a really nice event. And then I'm going to be going to the coffee event tomorrow at Sweet Expectations.
I have nothing to report out. I just remembered it was on the agenda. That's the only reason.
Oh, well, thank you. That's okay. John?
I don't have anything to report out.
I only have a couple things. One, I attended the Zero Waste Symposium that was held out at Sonoma Mountain Village. They had a lot of really good speakers and a lot of good information. And, you know, I actually learned something new that I didn't know about Goodwill. They actually let nothing go to waste. They have a multi-step process for their items. They get them all ready and they sell them in their store, like the Rohnert Park store. And then when those don't sell, they have outlet stores that they kind of regroup them and sell them. And then when they make it past there, if there's still some things, they actually send them over to some countries that actually take the things apart and reuse the materials to make other items. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that. So the point of that is zero waste. You know, so they actually have no waste from there. They don't landfill anything. So that was really good to hear. I attended the Waste Management Agency meeting. We had a report from Republic on the landfill. What the interesting point out of that was the in-place volume of garbage is 15,031,451 tons. The remaining capacity is 8,196,202 tons, and there was a change in airspace of some 304,000 tons. And based upon where we're headed with just that, with how we've gone, there is another 35 years worth of airspace. So we keep getting better. We have a long way to go, but we do keep getting better on what's going in there. Secondly, the RFP for the composting, we went through the RFP and everyone made comments, and the RFP will be going out. So that process will take, quite a bit of time, but hopefully by the end of the year, we hope to have everything back that we need from those wanting to do composting. We had a long discussion on in-county versus not in-county. Some of the cities had issue with comments in there that said a preference would be given to in-county proposals. And basically, folks thought that should be sort of out of it. The proposal should speak for itself. So in other words, assumptions have been made that if it's in county, it therefore must be cheaper and better. And so if that's true, then the proposals themselves should lay that out. So anyway, so they took that as a criteria out just to level the playing field and to look at all the solutions and on their own merits. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, hopefully by the end of the year we'll have a solution in place for that. And that's all I have. So now we can move on to public comment on non-agenda items. George, sorry.
Non-action items.
Council, I first want to comment on the city manager's report. It was a pretty good report. However, I was really hoping to hear something about the project graduation contribution that the city of Cotati made. I'm hoping that comes back to us at some point, because as you read in the paper, there was a full restitution of some $40,000 check written to the organization. And I'd like Damien to follow up on that for the benefit of everybody in our recreation department. Also, the summertime lunch program, this is just fantastic. And I really applaud the city, the recreation department, and the council for their support on this. I wish the city best of luck, that this is a very good success and a good starting point going forward for every summer. On future agenda items, this is kind of a tough one, but you can talk to me personally about this. You can bring this up publicly if you want to. This whole idea of wanting to run people out of town is really something I don't think is endearing to any of you. This is something I've brought up in the past. Mr. Moore has never denied it publicly. He's never apologized to me about it publicly or privately. And I think that apparently says a lot. It says volumes. It's really quite telling. But that's what fascists do. That's what communists do. They want to destroy people. They want to remove their voice. They want to wipe them out. They want to move them out of town. That is really, at the very essence, that is fascism. That is totalitarianism. And I'll never say never. I'll never give up on this city council. I'll never give up on this town. I'll never give up on any one of you. Anybody at any time can change their ways. They can apologize. They can let bygones be bygones and move forward. And we'll just have to let time tell how this works out. Thank you, council. Good luck tonight.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I make
Yes,
a
you may.
statement for the record?
Yes, you may.
I have denied that statement multiple times over the years. I have never said that statement. So if you want to keep reiterating that, then you certainly may. But you're not going to get an apology for something that I never said.
You're in denial and you're lying.
It must be my fascist communist nature.
Okay. Damien, could we at some point get a report on the donation?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay, if you could bring that back, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, and just to clarify about the money that was received, it hasn't been received because it can't be until the criminal case is resolved. And it also wasn't really restitution because it's not being paid by the person who took the money. It's being paid by her family members who are trying to make right. So technically, it's not really restitution. It's just the family trying to make amends.
Okay. With that, do we have any information received after the agenda was posted? No?
We got a Communist Party meeting here shortly.
So with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:03. Thank you.
Thank you.